Hey, it's Dan, and welcome to Unified Gaming. So in this one, I want to share with you the NECRO. The NECRO is a PvP Necromancer like no other. It's designed for the current patch and is a lot of fun. It works in Battlegrounds, in Duels, and in Cyrodiil. It can even 1vx if you build it right. Wicked Hats has some clips which I'll show on the channel very soon, so it honestly does it all. With this one though, I want to break down how the build actually works, the sets, the skills, everything you need to make it itself, and also note that this has been redesigned from the stream, so if you have seen the stream, this is completely different stuff, because this is the better min-max version that fixes all of the weaknesses. It now has more damage, it now has better defense, more speed, more utility, it's just an improvement. As with my videos though, if you do like what I do here, then likes, comments, shares are really important, and I would suggest subscribing as there's many gameplay videos coming out on this build showing you how to play it and give you tips, tricks and all that good stuff. So subscribing really helps out. And if you like what I do with my videos, then likes, shares are important, but supporting on Patreon is even more useful. If you want to get early access and much more, there is details down below. As with the class though and the build, what are we doing? For our race, we are a Dark Elf. Dark Elf gives you access to Flame Resist, which helps as we're a vampire, and it gives you max resource and weapon and spell damage. This is like the best in slot race. I do use a Breton on the live server, and all I've done is just change a glyph or two just to offset the racial difference. The race will not make or break this build. Breton is good, Dark Elf is great, Dark Elf is probably best in slot, but the race it will work whatever race you are. With the attributes, we have 25 in Magicka and 39 in health. We have 35,000 health. If you have less prismatic glyphs, so triglyphs, then your health will be lower than this. So aim for at least 30,000 health, and then just if you can get higher, brilliant. If you can't, don't stress. Our damage goes to almost 4,000 when we're fully buffed, which is great, and our sustain is ridiculously high. Mundus wise, we use the Atronach. This gives us more regen, so if we play in no CP Battlegrounds, this is brilliant. The Lover gives you more damage, which is a great alternative, especially in CP Cyrodiil or Imperial City, as this will just give you more sustain from the CP, and you can then run the Lover for just more damage. I personally use the Lover in Battlegrounds as well, but if you're new to the class and the build, go with the Atronach to start out. For the consumables, we are using Bear Hunch, so basically max health and then stamina and magical recovery. You can use Jaws of Mistral as a cheaper version, which is what I use on live, or you could use food that gives you max health, max magicka and magical recovery. Citrus Fillet or Potent Brew. These are really good options. You might also notice my money is really high. This part of the video is recorded on the PTS to show everything gold, because believe it or not, I don't have that much money. I spend a lot of gold making builds. To make this one, I spent over 3 million gold just testing different sets. So yeah, if you want to support just in-game and stuff, I do play on PCEU. Potion wise, we use Tri-Stat potions. They give you just 3 resources, brilliant. If you do change a skill morph, you could then go with Alliance Spell for extra damage. This will mean that you can have more healing, but you do just get limited with your potions. So me personally, I run Tri-Potions and Degeneration, but if you want to use Structured Entropy, which we'll touch on later, Alliance Potions or just something with spell damage is a good alternative. As for the skills, I'm going to go through quite quick and then break down what is happening and how they all work, so do pay close attention. So with the skills, put on our damage buff, we have Crushing Shock. With our other set, this goes to 2,600 each, so it's like 8,000 damage, which is pretty good. We then use this. You can use this more for Cyrodiil, Crushing Shock, or False Pulse for Battlegrounds. I use False Pulse for both. It's a really good skill. It's got a cleave on it. It's definitely worth trying. Gravelord Sacrifice is a crux of this build. I have tried the Stam version, but the damage was too low. How this works is it gives you a buff which increases all of the damage your dots do to the target. It does not buff their tooltips, but the damage is increased. So just do factor that in. Your tooltips look the same, but you do get more damage with this. And when I compared the two, this is better. If you want to have more burst though, the Stam one with Dawnbreaker could work, but I don't think it's needed. I found this was more consistent. I then use Flame Breach. When we're buffed up, Flame Breach is 14,000, and with our other sets 15,000, so it was good dot, initial hit and burning. You might notice it's a fire staff, which is a bit unusual. The fire staff gives us tri-focus, which when we heavy attack we get an extra dot. So what I often do, as you'll see, is I see a target, I heavy attack into like that, and I land 3 or 4 dots, and look at all those dots already there. So much damage with just one combo. So using the Inferno staff means we get this extra dot. We also get from Ancient Knowledge an extra 12% damage done with dots, which again doesn't buff the tooltips. So the tooltips don't show this increase, but it is there. So you will hit harder when you have an Inferno staff with dot damage. And these stack. This 12% and this Blast Bones, 15% do stack together, so our dots have 27% more damage. It is huge. I then use Structured Entropy. Now, if you are playing in Cyrodiil, Structured Entropy is brilliant as it heals you. If you are playing in Battlegrounds or you don't want to use potions with spell damage, then go and focus on Degeneration. Me personally, I personally enjoy using the Degeneration just because I'm a bit lazy with potions and I prefer try potions. So you will see the choice is kind of up to you. We then have Elemental Susceptibility, which gives us Breach, and the status effects, which do hit hard. And with the set we use, they become like mini spammables, so they're really, really good. We then have Swarming Scion, which gives us a all no button if things go wrong. It heals us to full health. We get health, magic, and stamina increase, so again more damage. And the big thing is we heal for 15% of all the damage that we deal. Our dots will proc, thus we get that small heal over time from all the dot damage, which is like having Pale Order. So this is a really good all no button. It also hits hard in the 1v1. So if you cast it and then sit on people, you got really good AoE damage plus all those dots ticking and the spammable from Crushing Shock. So it's really, really good damage once it's all stacked up quickly. Back bar, we have Beckoning Armor. If you use Beckoning Armor in the Bone Tyrant, that gives you Disdain Harm, which reduces damage taken from dots by 15%. Me personally, I don't run this at all, and I'll explain later in the video. I instead use Rate Against Time. This is better in my opinion, but if you are in Cyrodiil against loads of dots, you might want to just run that, not because of the armor, because we get that already from a set, but it's just because we proc this passive. And you could go with Beckoning Armor as a pull to pull people in as an extra stun. We then have Resistant Flesh, and when this is buffed, it is 9.7k. With our other set, it's like 10,500, and with a keep, it's almost 14,000, so it's pretty good. We then have Vigor as an extra heal, and the Spirit Guardian, which gives us 10% damage reduction again. The final dot is Consuming Trap, which does look a bit small, but with the sets we use, when we actually look at Consuming Trap from the front bar, it is 17k, almost 18,000, so just under 18,000, so it's a good dot. And with Vigor, we get the armor buff. Vigor on the back bar pushes our armor to 31,000 spell and almost 29,000 physical. So we have lots and lots and lots of defense on this build. As with all these dots, you're probably thinking quickly, how do I get all these dots on somebody really fast? When you see the target, it's quite simple. You see them from far away, so you walk, charging your heavy attack into Flame Clench, light attack degen, push your elemental susceptibility swap bar of Soul Trap, and go back, and you just spam Crushing Shock. And that's all how you do all the dots really quick. I'm going to do it at full speed now to show you how everything works. And if you are pre-fight, you could chuck on the Ghost just for the extra mitigation and Vigor. So when you see the target, I would put on my Ghost and my Vigor, heavy attack into Clench, Entropy, susceptibility swap, cast my Blast Bones, and then light attack spam, and I've got all my buffs up and all that dot damage going. So you can see that this damage constantly eats at them. They move away, it stays in there for ages. And then when I've been doing this for a couple of seconds, I then reset the combo, so heavy attack, degen, susceptibility, blast bone, swap bar, soul trap, and then back to spammable again. So you can just see, you can reset the potions and the dots and stuff really fast, and as you move away, it still ticks. So that's how quickly you can get it up. It's like 3 seconds to get all those dots on somebody. Really, really, really fast. Now, I want to go through the CP quick and then the sets. For the champion points, we are using Deadly Aim and Thaumaturge. Deadly Aim increases single target, which does buff dots, and Thaumaturge buff dots. We then have Ironclad and Jeweler's rebuff for just more defense. For the red ones, we have Celerity. This could be changed though for Bastion for more damage against Sulks, which is great. Then we have Survival Instincts, Pain's Refuge, and Sustained by Suffering. If you wanted, however, you could put on something like Fortified and get an extra 1500 armor, which is quite nice, or more health. Or you could go something like Slippery, or Expert Evasion. It's kind of up to you, really. Me personally, I would use Pain's Refuge, definitely. I would use Bastion because I hate Sulks, they're just so toxic to fight against. Sustained by Suffering, and then just one of choice. Fortified is a great option. And then for the green ones, whatever you like. The final thing now with the build is to really go through and talk about the set. If you get any questions with this, please comment, or do consider joining the Discord. There's been a few links. I have a Discord that is at the bottom of this video, so do check it out. And I can answer questions there much faster. And as always, if you like my videos, likes, comments, shares, and subscribes really helps. And I just want to say a massive thanks to everyone at Patreon. If you want to get early access and much more, the details down below. With the sets, we are doing something a bit unusual. We're using Dragakin, which absolutely it's so much damage, but you lose so much healing. This is a great set, but it's got a massive downside. To fix that, we actually front bar it. So when we go to the back bar, we don't get this extra damage, but we don't get this penalty. And what's nice is that because we don't get that penalty, our heals are still pretty good. So that was 15k crit heal there. In Syria, you get about 8k crit heals in around keeps and stuff, so it's pretty decent. So by putting Dragakin on the front bar, we can benefit from the damage when we need the damage, and then we can also benefit from and just benefit by not having that heal reduction when we're on the back bar by front barring it. The second set we then use is Rallying Cry. This could be something like Wretched Vitality, or Daedric Trickery is a good option, or you could go with Clever Alchemist. I would personally go with Wretched Vitality or Rallying Cry. They're really good sets. If you go with Wretched, you can then put more spell damage on. If you go with Rally, you've got that just damage and that crit resist. If somebody has Rally already, then use Wretched. Another option though is you could go with Nobility and Decay, which I'll touch upon in a moment. This is a really fun set. And one thing to note with the Dragakin is, why do I use it? If you look at our structured entropy, so our spell damage is 3,500 back bar, front bar 3,400. Our magic is the same, which you would then argue that actually the dots should be higher on the back bar. Degeneration is 15,000. We switch to Dragakin. It is now almost 20,000. Dragakin's grip as a dot set is roughly a 30% damage increase on all dots. It is ridiculous. It is better than Deadly Strikes. I tried Deadly Strikes and this is significantly more damage. So this is 100% worth farming. If you don't have this, then Deadly Strikes is the alternative. Failing that, you could go and use a set that is crafted called Assassin's Guile, which does increase your poisons and it gives you lots of damage, or even Soul Trap and go with Oblivion's Foe as another dot set. But me personally, Dragakin is just way too strong to miss up on. For the loadout, we use a Sharpened Inferno Staff, double dot poisons. We have Defending on the sword and the shield, which is Rallying Cry. And you can use a Glyph of choice and Poison of choice. I have a Heavy Mighty Tudun helmet, a Trainee chest heavy, and a Mighty Tudun shoulder medium. The head, the chest, and the shoulder are all reinforced to just push our resistances a bit higher. And we have Triglyphs on everything. If you can't afford that, Triglyph on the head, the chest, and the legs, and a Magicka on all the small pieces. For the other pieces, we have Impen on everything else. You could go with Well Fitted or Divines if you wish. I've gone with Impen because it helps with just keeping us more mobile and not having to worry about just big bursts and big ganks. So this really helps with just keeping you alive. But Well Fitted is really good. You need 1 Draga and then 3 Rallying Cry. The loadout for this bit is up to you. The head, the chest, and the shoulders are needed though in these weights. This will maximise your resistances and also your stats. For the jewellery, we have Dragakin neck and ring, and then we use Marking Ring of Majesty as the mythic. You might notice these are all 3 recovery and swift. If you are a Breton, change one of these recoveries to damage and then you'll get very similar damage to what you'll see here, so it's just really good. You could go with 2 damage if you really wish. As for Swift, why do I use Swift and not infuse spell damage or arcane? The bottom line is that when you increase the damage, so let me show you, our dot is 19,600. If you were to go and enchant this with a damage, 19,600 is 20,100. It's 500 damage per dot over 20 seconds. So that's 500 over 20 seconds per spell damage glyph you get. It is not worth the increase. So Swift was better. Swift gives us really fast movement speed, 21% faster speed. With Race Against Time, we move this quick. With Sprint, it's so much better. So Swift was really good. I did also experiment, as you'll see, with Bloodthirsty. Bloodthirsty, I found it doesn't increase your dots. So what does that actually mean? If I put some dots on this person, and the way Bloodthirsty works is when they are below 10%, 90% health, you do bonus damage. This is good, but the problem is that when the dots tick, the Bloodthirsty doesn't increase the scaling, which then means you have a bit of a problem. And so this is something to really factor in, that as you kind of do damage, you'd expect that they get lower and lower and lower, and your dots will do more and more damage to them. So we'll get this person just below 10%. And the reason I've chosen this bigger dummy is not because it's, you know, it makes it easier to see what's happening. It's kind of the short answer. So we're almost at missing 10% of its health. So as it's now 10% health, we're going to let the dots fall out, and I'll show you just what's happening, that they don't increase, which is really annoying. So it should be going up. That 2088 is still there. That 1988 is still there. So that dot's 2098. But then if I damage again, the entropy when it ticks, it's not getting any higher, and that's the problem. So it's a little bit hard to see in that thing, but trust me, that's how it works. I was really disappointed. I had 3 Bloodthirsty glyphs, jewelry pieces, and I had to get rid of them all because it didn't do anything. It was really sad. So Swift is the way to go. You could swap Marken for Death Dealers or for Malakath. Malakath gives you more consistent damage. Death Dealers gives you more similar damage to Marken when it's fully buffed, but less defense, but more max resource. Marken is kind of just good for all cases, so I'd run this personally. It's like the best. If you want to run a different mythic, however, you can, but just be mindful of how you swap the pieces around. But that's the build. I know this video is quite long, but there's been a lot more detail, so let me know what you think of it. It's a really fun way to play the class. And if you want to see it in action live, I do stream every Saturday on YouTube at 9 PM. And that's 9 PM UK, so do come say hi. But I'm going to kind of wrap this video up here. So I'm going to say a massive thanks to everybody that's liked, commented, shared and subscribed. And a bigger thank you to everyone at Patreon. If you want to support myself there, get early access and much more, there's details down below. But as always, I'll catch you in the next video on the next stream. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care. And bye.